Hello everyone, welcome to SkillUp, the career podcast by Z Learning Lab. This is where we talk about the real world skills need to grow and success in today's fast changing world. In today's episode, we are talking about something super important, like soft skills, the real game changes. And I am excited because we have a very special guest with us today, Miss Lovleen Joshi. She's an expert in human resources with years of experience working with top companies, hiring people, and helping them grow in their careers. She truly understands what makes someone stand out, not just on paper, but in real life too. So, what makes this episode even more special is that Ms. Joshi is also the former managing director of BNP Paribas Bank, India, a role that speaks volume about her leadership, experience, and the incredible journey she had. So, if you are a student, a fresh graduate, or someone just starting out in their career, this one is for you. So, welcome to podcast, Ms. Lovleen Joshi, organized by G Learning Lab. I'm so happy to receive you here, and so let's talk.
Yes. Thanks for the
Uh,
wonderful introduction, Harish.
yeah, it's okay. It's our pleasure, madam. I'm so happy to get connected with you, and I'm so happy to get connected with you since long time. Like you are
Yes.
associated with G Learning Lab. Yeah, but we are also expecting you to visit our campus anytime soon. Okay.
Sure.
So I have a few questions where I want you to share to the young graduates, young graduates or students or any upskilling graduates. So I would like to first ask you, Madam Ji, like, do you remember your first hiring experience or a moment from your early career that shaped your perspective on what really matters for the in a candidate?
Sure. I think as a young HR person, some of the biggest exposures or the biggest hirings that you do is when you go to campuses for hiring, right?
Yes.
And that's where you would kind of in a single day interview about close to about 50, 60 candidates and perhaps select two or three out of them.
Hmm.
That's been my very early exposure on or experience in hiring good, top, intelligent talent, so to say. Um, I think what stands out, and I've had a career journey of close to 30 years now. And
Yes.
I think what I saw at the start of my career and what I see now is not very different. The language has changed, the verbiage has changed, but the core remains the same.
Hmm.
And the two or three things, especially when you're just beginning your career, which really stand out is one is, I like to call it first principles. Do you know your stuff? No amount of, and while I'm conscious of the fact that this session is around soft skills, I have
Hmm.
to say no amount of soft skills can make up for your core knowledge of your subject. So, do you know your stuff? Do you know why you want to do something? So, these are the two things which will always kind of distinguish good candidates from or from average or not so good candidates. So, one, how strong is your content? Do you know what you've studied? Do you know how good are you? And not just theoretically, but also the practical applications of whatever course or whatever specialization that you choose. And second, why is it that you chose that particular field? Why is it that you're applying for a particular job? So that clarity on why you want to do what you want to do. These are the two things which distinguish strong candidates from not so strong candidates.
I totally agree with you, madam. Even in a recent HR summit also, this was mentioned by one of the expert person. You have probably seen the way hiring expectations have changed now.
Yes.
Okay, so what's something that remained constant, and what is the change what changed the most?
Let me begin with the second part, right, which is more
Okay.
interesting. I think what has changed.
Yes. Yes.
Earlier, a candidate and a employer relationship was very lopsided, right? The employer had all the power. The
Mm,
candidate was almost like, you know, please like me. If you like me, I'm happy to come and work for you. The power equation was very different between a candidate and an employer. Today, the
mm,
power equation has changed. When we talk of Gen Z, when we talk of millennials, the firms are very aware of saying it's more of a peer relationship between a candidate and an employer today. The power equations are common. So if you are good at what you do, if you know why you want to do what you want to do, uh, firms will go put in the extra effort to make themselves attractive to you. So that I think is the biggest change. We never, like we said 20 years back, we never heard of candidates rejecting firms, right? Of saying the culture fit is bad, or the values are not aligned, or their work-life balance is extremely poor. It may be any or all of it, or it doesn't have a learning culture, for example, right? Today we hear this more often on saying that candidates have rejected firms for 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons, right? And firms respect that. So,
mm,
as each of you or each of the as you begin your careers, you're making these choices. Make sure it's not just about the compensation package. It's
mm,
not just about the location that, you know, preferred location versus not so preferred location. Look at roles in its entirety, right? What are the learning
mm,
opportunities? What is the brand? What does it stand for? Culturally, are you aligned? Your alumni would in those companies would give you a lot of information on what kind of bosses are usually seen in these kind of firms, and use that information both during the selection process and finally whether when you're making the call on whether or not this is a good fit for you. And firms are very accepting about it. So firms are not
mm,
going to reject you or not think less of you. In fact, they will think more of you if you do
mm,
your research and ask these type of questions during your selection
mm,
conversation. That's what I think is a big shift from what how we
mm.
did things say 15 years back and how we do things now. So that's one part of the answer. What has remained the same, I think, is what I mentioned in my earlier conversations,
Mm,
which is things like you know integrity, things like your core
mm,
values, professionalism, things like learning abilities. Those are things
mm,
which have remained the same and which will remain constant even 50 years from now. Firms
mm,
are going to value professionalism. They are going to value integrity. They are going to value respect for colleagues. So these are some of the
mm.
values which have remained the same over multiple decades.
I think it will help a lot of students. Even you see this rejection of the firms, no, this is the one I agree with you. Even if you see, if you just compare from the past 20 years, maybe in 2001 to 2005,
Yeah.
that time graduates attended around each candidate used to attend at least 20 interviews to get one job. But
Yes.
now, after 2006 or 15, now the entire scenario got changed. So I
True.
totally agree with you, madam. Yeah. So when we say soft skills, okay,
Mm.
so what are we really talking about? Could you define them for our student or the audience?
So, soft skill is an umbrella term,
Hmm.
and it can mean different things at different points in time.
Hmm.
Uh, but how does a layman understand it? How does a student who's just beginning their career, what does it mean for them? And what do firms mean when they say soft skill, right? That's the
Mhm.
perspective as well. Uh,
Yes.
I think we tend to focus a lot on communication skills, right? And everyone is talking about saying, how well do you communicate? How well do you talk? And so on. Um, but to me, it's a little bigger than that. When you say soft skills, when you say communication skills, uh, it's kind of saying not how good or bad your language is. It's also not so much about do you speak with a great deal of confidence, or do you have like almost gravitas and stage presence to go and talk to a bunch of crowd. That's not what it means. It means, do you have clarity of thought? Are you able to say very precisely what you mean? Interviews at the end of the day are a 30-minute process. The interviewer
Yes.
is sitting and interviewing like 50 students in a single day before making up their calls. Uh, so the onus of making themselves clearly understood lies with the candidate. And therefore,
Mhm.
the intent of when we say soft skills, stroke, good, strong communication skills, it essentially boils down to saying, do you have clarity of thought? If a question is being asked, first, are you listening carefully? Do you understand why a question is being asked? And then the second part of communication is to say, how precisely and with what clarity can you explain yourself? That to
Mhm.
me are like two or three tenets of good communication skills, or what is largely understood as soft skills. And there
Yes.
are a whole lot of other soft skills, right, which are not visible at an interview stage, and therefore I'm not focusing on them. Like saying that,
Mhm.
are you a good team player? Can you flex your work style? These are all soft skills, right? They fortunately, unfortunately, cannot be tested during an interview, so I'm not focusing on them. But as one builds their career, one would have to kind of see what's important in what role, and make sure that you develop that muscle, right?
Mhm.
For example, are you a good in the earlier part of your career, you have to be a good team player. Later, you will get to a point where you need to be a team leader, so on and so forth. But in the early part of your career, are you a team player? Are you able to put the team goals above your own goals? Are you able to
Mhm.
flex your work style, right? Each of us has a certain work style. For example, I am a morning person, right?
Mhm.
But if my entire team is an evening person, I cannot force my entire team to start working early in the morning because I'm a morning person, right?
Mhm.
So little things like these. So
Yes.
this is like this broad umbrella of soft skill. It largely means, do you work well in a team? And when you want to speak up, are you able to clearly express yourself? This is how I would kind of broadly define soft skills.
So you have interviewed more than maybe thousands of candidates,
Yeah.
but yeah. So my question is, what kind of mistakes they do in the interview process? Majority, like you might be observing, but major mistake what you find in the fresh graduates when they are attending the interviews.
I think one of the biggest mistakes graduates make when
Mhm.
they are appearing for interviews is
Yes.
they do not think before they answer. It's very basic. But if a question is being asked, one, listen carefully to what the question is.
Yes.
And it is perfectly okay to pause for 30 seconds, gather your thought, from start to end, saying, this is what my answer is going to be. These are the 2, 3 points. In your mind, put 3 bullet points. Like, these are the 3 bullet points that I want to cover in my answer, and then start speaking. Usually, what we've seen young grads do is the moment a question is thrown at them, they will immediately start answering the question, right? So they haven't taken the time to, one, gather their thoughts, second, organize their thoughts, and then start the answer. And everybody appreciates it. I don't think there are marks for speed of answering, right? So if you
Mhm.
take a minute,
Yes.
in fact, if you tell your interviewer, uh, give me a minute to collect my thoughts, perfectly acceptable. I think people will appreciate it that you're not just rushing into answers rather than applying thought to it. That is one of the biggest mistakes I've seen all grads make.
So, if you just imagine if the student is having a strong technical knowledge, okay,
Mm,
but he is poor with communication skills,
mm.
what is your advice for them? He might you see. You have seen nowadays. You have seen lot of candidates with exceptional CGPA or even technically strong also on both on paper and in mind, but they were not able to speak out properly. So, what is your suggestion for them?
So I have mm, you know two inputs for them. One,
Okay.
I think, sadly, uh,
Hmm.
they would not, uh, they would take longer to get placed, right?
Hmm.
It's a sad thing, but it's a reality of life, right? It's that they
Okay.
would take longer to get placed, right? Um, and what it means, how can they help their case is purely practice, right? Do
Hmm.
as many mock interviews as you can.
Okay.
Get yourselves into situations, whether it is with peers, whether ask your teachers. I think most of the time faculty is very, very happy to step in and help people.
Hmm.
But today you have generative AI who's doing interviews for you, right?
Yes.
So sit and do as many interviews as you can so that you feel comfortable in your skin, right? And
Hmm.
at the end of the day, especially if it's a technical interviews, it's like what students used to do when they were studying, right? There is a question bank. Beyond a point,
Hmm.
within the same, if you have those 50, 100 questions outlined in your mind, more or
Hmm.
less you will be okay. Second is, and this is again, I tell everyone to practice it well. Most interviews begin with a question of saying, tell me something about yourself, right? It's almost like a warm-up question. Uh, if I was to tell everyone, all the youngsters, to practice one question, it would be this one question. Tell me something about yourself. Because that sets the tone, right? If you begin well, then your confidence goes up, and your ability to take the next questions is much higher, right? If you find
Hmm.
yourself saying some stuff like, if this question is thrown at you, tell me something about yourself, and all you can say is, my name is ABC and I
Yes.
study in XYZ course and this is my CGPA, you yourself will not be happy with that answer. And that kind of
Hmm.
gives you a little dip on your self-esteem. Then the next question is a little tougher and so on and so forth, right?
Yes.
So tell me something about yourself. Please practice this question like 50 times till you have it pat. And then kind of, see where the interview goes and take it
Okay.
from there. The second input is, what I would give is, the first placement is going to be tough, but you have a 30-year career ahead of you, right? So don't let it define you. It's fine.
Hmm.
After the first 2 or 3 years, your work will start speaking for yourself, right? So it's not the end of your life or end of your career to say, where did I join first? After 4 5 years,
Hmm.
nobody even remembers, right? What salary you joined or what company you began with. It becomes irrelevant. So
Yes.
let that not cloud your entire view about yourself and about how your career is going to pan out, so on and so forth. I
Hmm.
think when you're young, these kind of things make a lot of impression on you. But remember, within 2 years, your work will speak, and nobody is going to focus on your communication skills as much as they did in the first interview.
Hmm.
So it's a
True.
little
True.
hiccup. Get over it,
Hmm.
get a good job, and in two
Hmm.
years, anyways, your technical skills will land you wherever you're supposed to land. So have a little long-term view about yourself as well. So don't be too hard on yourself. It's okay.
So, is it true that someone with an average scores, okay, will better perform? Some people they really perform well, but great soft skills get higher than like if they're actually having good soft skills but average marks, they will get hired faster?
I think companies are smart. So,
Hmm.
a lot of times you would see your CGPA is a gating criteria, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
it's not as if you have a really low CGPA, but you have great soft skills and you will get hired. That doesn't happen.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
usually happens for the middle band, right? If you're in the
Yes.
middle band of CGPA and you have great soft skills, you might get hired earlier than people who have, higher CGPA. But I must say, careers are 30-year journeys.
Hmm.
Finally, after the first 3, 4, 5 years, we all land where we are all supposed to land. So
Hmm.
not to worry, your soft skills will take you to a certain point, uh, but not all the way. So you have to also
Hmm.
remember to continue to develop your functional skills and not just
Hmm.
lean on your soft skills to make through your career journey.
So from campus to corporate, it's a culture shock, like normally for many students. But
Yeah.
what can help ease that transition? How it is going to be helpful for the students?
I have to say, Harish, I think students are very smart nowadays.
Hmm.
I think when
Yeah.
we did our careers, we were really, really very academic. And so it was a huge
Hmm.
culture shock. I think kids nowadays are kind of know they have enough exposures, they have done internships. So
Hmm.
they are, I think, much equipped than what we were when we were joining the corporate world.
Yes.
But I think one or two things, if I was to kind of lay down, one
Hmm.
is accountability, right?
Hmm.
What happens is when you're doing when you're still a student, um except for doing well in exams, you have no other accountability, right? And
Hmm.
whether you kind of cram 3 days before the exams and go and appear, or whether you study for 3 months and then appear, it doesn't really matter, right? But that's not how the corporate world works, right?
Hmm.
Everyone is observing you on a daily basis. So you cannot
Hmm.
say, if my project timeline is, say, 20th, I will sit
Hmm.
on 18th evening and work for 36 hours and deliver it on 20th. That's
Hmm.
not going to be acceptable, right? And then you cannot turn
Hmm.
around and say, oh, by the way, you gave me a 20th timeline, I have delivered so many 8 times, right? Uh,
Hmm.
because your seniors would
Hmm.
not be sure, right? They need to see continuous progress because they are making plans according to the progress that they're seeing you do. Um,
Hmm.
so you go from being this individual, I control my own work and my destiny, to being part of a larger system. So your individualism does take a hit, and we all have to be prepared. We all have to be prepared for it. That we are all part
Yeah.
of a larger organization. Other people depend on us. So I need to be conscious of it and conduct myself accordingly. So
Hmm.
just remember, whatever you do on a daily basis is being observed, and conduct
Hmm.
yourself, accordingly.
Okay.
That's one. The second one I would say is that there is a certain way of behaving, there's a certain language that we are all used to when you're studying, because you're mostly interacting with peers. Uh,
Hmm.
but your not just your verbal language, your body language has to change, right? Uh,
Yes.
you are different when you're on in a work environment than what you are in your college cafeteria, right? So we see a
Yes.
lot of these youngsters who are, for a lack of better word, I would say cafeteria dress up and cafeteria language. It's not
Hmm.
acceptable. Like, if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to kind of say, oh, I am serious about the work I do and the job I do, please dress the part and please act the part, right? So give away your flip flops and give away your, whatever else, and behave as any other working professional would behave. It's a tough one. People don't like it, but I think it needs to be done.
So, but what is that one soft skill students ignore, but they shouldn't?
I don't call it a soft skill. I
Huh.
call it a value system. Okay.
value system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And uh, to me, the one thing, the one muscle that we should all develop, and not just students, I think it's true for all of us, is
Yes.
it, it's it's what we call grit, right?
Hmm.
You don't like a job, you want to change your job in 3 months. You don't like your project, you want to change it in a week, right? That
Hmm.
kind of doesn't take you too far, in the
Hmm.
corporate world at least, right? So your
Yes.
ability to stick it out, your ability to kind of put in the hard work is what I think defines success in the long term. Do you have
Hmm.
the grit to just stick it out and do the hard work, right? A lot
Hmm.
of times we see the millennials or we see the Gen Zs on getting bored too quickly or not kind of putting in the requisite amount of effort, and that becomes
Hmm.
a habit. You know, you kind of give up too easily, you change too
Hmm.
easily. That doesn't do good to anybody, neither the firm nor to you. So I would
Hmm.
say, if there is one value, if there is one thing that you want to take away from this conversation, it would be, please develop some grit. Please make sure this is very old world thinking, but it works even today. Make sure you just stick it out. And if
Yes. Yes.
you just stay the course, you will reach where you want to reach, right? And there are no shortcuts. You can't really say that I will get promoted 3 times in 2 years. No, not happening.
A book or a resource to develop their confidence or in communication. No? Would you like to recommend any book or a resource?
When we talk about developing your confidence or your communication style, within the HR world, there are kind of two theories around it.
Hmm.
One theory says, and which I am sure all of us know and all of us have seen it enough, is to say it's a skill. Okay, to say, um, when you're making a presentation, make sure there are only 4 bullets on every slide, or when you're talking to someone, make sure there is a tonality and there is a different, and these kind of tips and trips, ticks, I think you will find all over the internet. I don't think there
Yes.
is anything specific. The second school of thought is that when we talk of confidence, when we talk of communication, it comes from inside. It's less of a skill and it's more about your own self-worth and how do you see yourself. And I belong to the second school, where I find it very difficult to believe uh, that you do not value yourself, or you think very little of your own self, and your self-esteem is low, but you will be able to go and talk extremely confidently to other people. I find that very difficult to kind of go by that line of thought. So I would say, do things that develop your self-worth. So whether it
Hmm.
means acquiring, of being good at your basic course content, acquiring whatever degrees and qualifications that you feel are needed to kind of grow. Even doing work, we call it in HR world, we call it inner work, right? Which is basically saying that, how are you feeling inside? I think this is important. And in this day and age where all of us are getting a little more isolated than what we used to be a couple of years back. So make sure you invest in some of these social intelligence, emotional intelligence, your own self-worth, your own self-esteem. If all that is in order, I am sure confidence is a byproduct of some of this internal work, rather than a skill which you can develop, so to say. So,
So,
I would say, please, there is a very good, she's more a psychotherapist, psychologist called Brené Brown. And
okay.
you can go, she has written 4 or 5 books. Do spend time reading her work. So it's all about self-worth, it's all about self-confidence, it's all about saying whatever is inside will reflect outside. So do read up Brené Brown, and I'm sure it will be useful to all of to everyone who's kind of just beginning their careers.
Yes, yes. Okay, that's good, madam. But if students listening today want to take one small step to improve their soft skills, what kind of soft skills would you like to suggest to them?
I would say, and this I am saying purely from point of an interview and not from point of
Mm,
long-term careers, etc. If you
mm.
want to be good in your interviews, please learn the skill to state your point of view very clearly and precisely. Take a pause, exactly decide what are the three things or four things you want to capture in your responses, and then start speaking. Do not ramble. Sometimes we find in the interviews, candidates would begin the answer and then they would just go on, not quite knowing where to end the answer. That leaves a very poor impression on the interviewer. So, purely from a point of interviewing, I would say learn to state your thoughts in an extremely precise manner. Please understand, your interviewers are interviewing 50, 60 students in the same day. They do not have the patience to kind of go all over the world and then come and understand your point. Be extremely precise in how you talk. That would be my one tip or one skill that all students should adopt.
So, any some words to our students with G Learning Lab or those who are going to enroll with G Learning Lab? Would you like to suggest something for them?
I think they've already taken the first big step of
Mm.
registering with a professional institute, right? So they should feel
Okay.
good about that, that they are on the right track, and that belief that we are on the right track is very important. The second thing I would say is make sure you know your content. I'm a great believer that content wins over almost anything else that the interviewer throws at you. Make sure that you know your content extremely well. And thirdly, I would say is that, which again I've been saying all through the talk, is that careers are not a sprint, they're a marathon. So you would have some ups, you would have some downs. So where you begin in the long run is not so important. So please don't define your entire self-image and self-worth and your entire journey by saying, where did I begin? It will not matter after 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
Choose jobs where you will learn a lot. Choose jobs which you identify with over money. Money will come to you. That I think we all know that by now.
Yes.
So that's what I would like to, leave the students with.
Sure, sure.
Mr. Prashant Biradar, he is a visionary. He's actually started this institute with the intention to provide maximum number of opportunities to the young graduates. As you see, there is a lot of gap between the industry and the academia.
Yeah.
So his thoughts were different, like he wants to bridge that gap between the industry and the academia. Lovely. First of all, happy to see you interacting with Zenop and Learning Labs. So giving some precious time with us and spending some good time with us and getting some more insight about the things about your experience showcased in front of us. And thank you so much for that. One thing, HR plays the vital role, as you know, for any organization. When we need the right pillars for an organization to run the show. As end to end, they have all the things which exactly they can run the show well, well hiring the people into the organization. So, how exactly the thoughtful like suddenly you are into the human resource? One of the different profiles, there are a lot of profiles, as you know that. So suddenly, like, why you get into this human resource subject and how you enjoyed this experience?
I like to think, whether you want to work in HR or not, it's more of a calling, than a choice in that sense. Um,
Because hiring right people is not responsible, as you know, under this corporate sector.
Hiring the right people, making sure they stay motivated, making sure they don't leave the firm, making sure the right people are rewarded for for the work they do. I mean, this is all.
Correct.
And also, unfortunately, the part of saying if some people are not right for the organization, then ensuring that the exit is smooth. So it's an end-to-end kind of a job in that sense.
One wrong hair can impact a huge. One wrong hair.
One wrong
So,
hire.
no. Yes, yes, yes. So it is not an easy task. I can human resource expert as it took an experience. It's not an easy task. Hiring the right people, engaging them from start to last, smooth exit, making people motivation and
So
hold
tell
people.
me, as part of your, I was just chatting with Harish, and he was mentioning you have courses in data sciences, you have courses in various other faculties. Do you have a HR specialization as well?
No, we don't have HR specialization program. Because I never think about that. We could have because we only fell in human resource. So I think so. This is not a right platform to start this HR. If I got the right people like you, I can even start that too.
Mm.
Because currently we are only focused for AI related programs, which is running youth group primarily. So we are running relating IT and healthcare. We are more mostly expertise in healthcare, but in IT, as in home, there's a huge competition between us. Industry is very vast. Every
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
area, like, yeah, everywhere you go, every home there is a data science course they're selling. So there's a huge competition. So under this competition, I don't want to be selling this.
No, no, that's
So,
true. You should decide your focus and stick to it. There is no.
yes, and this is IT. Just I'm giving the services to the well-known people and some student. They are excited to join only us because we don't compromise in fee structure with the quality itself shows. Example, if we mentioned a fee structure of 60,000, beside me, someone there, he'll be selling the same course in 20,000. So there is no huge. There's a competition between the costing itself.
Yeah,
We don't want to compromise, and people, student, obviously, they are looking up to the less fee structure, and in 20,000, they will compromise their career. There are a lot of things are there behind the 20,000. People will not see that. But we know exactly what is the difference between 20 and 60,000. So it is very far. Even people take up a wrong decision and they just join the 20,000 course and they struggle again. So these are no will be there. There are a lot of challenges we have in IT programs.
No, that's
And we even take very less admissions, 20, 25 admissions in a month. That's it, not more than that.
very good.
We have a particular
Very
admission,
focused. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
only 25 students in a single batch, no more than that. If I had more than that also, if I take more admissions also, it is very difficult to get an idea and insights of the classes.
Yeah.
We take little less student, but when it comes to healthcare, we get around 100 to 150 admissions in a month.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, healthcare is very
Your
easy.
course duration is what? What is your course duration?
8 months and 12 months, 15 months. It depends. It
Depends on what you choose.
choosing the programs. We do have different programs like pro advanced diploma, post graduation. It depends on a student which program they just choose and remove. Minimum course will duration will be 6 months. Because to get any technical insight, it takes time. It is not easy part.
True.
It takes around 5 to 6 months with etiquette skills. Soft skill etiquette is also more important. So accordingly, let's go ahead. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Same.
And very soon we'll meet again. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So happy to be with you today and got a lot of insights, and not only for our students, even for me, for my team also. So happy to get connected with you today, madam.
Same here.
Yeah, thank you very much.